Episode 256 of Global from Asia. Feel like it's a topic we should be covering. China and USA trade war. What's going on?
Welcome to the Global from Asia podcast, where the daunting process of running an international business is broken down into straight-up, actionable advice. And now, your host, Michael Michelini.
I hope everybody's having a super Tuesday. It's the beginning of June. June 4th. I won't get into some of the history of June 4th. We are talking about the hot topic, China and USA trade war, which is a one that's been filling my inbox and social media accounts for a few weeks now, most of May, I think. We'll talk about the interview, but it's been a lot of stuff happening about this topic, getting many people in our little world here of cross-border trade and e-commerce and business and Asia, and even the show name, Global from Asia. I mean, there's been a lot at stake lately. I mean, I guess it keeps things interesting. Hopefully people haven't lost too much sleep. We joke about that a little bit in the interview. And today, I think this one is going to be a very popular show. We're going to be also launching a survey today on the blog. I want to hear from you. I've been talking to amazing people at Wall Street Journal, South China Morning Post, Frederick at China Import Hall, talking to Chris Davey, FBA for You, talking to people all over this space in WeChat groups and private messages and member calls at VIP, GFA VIP, and all this stuff. And I want to try to make an industry report, maybe some kind of a white paper or data research. So if you want to be part of this report and you want to also have your voice heard and get that report in return, if you so choose to get that report, we're doing some research here at Global from Asia. You can check out some of the insights I've been hearing already from the trade war, and you can fill out your survey as well as a cool little poll, which is fun. So there's two different ways you can engage and interact. globalfromasia.com/trade war survey, all one word, no dashes, no underscores, none of that fun stuff, just trade war survey, or check it out on the show note linked. We're going to do our job here. I feel like it's part of my job as a blogger, podcaster, reporter, journalist, dude with a camera around his neck, sometimes doing video blogs. But we have our team, and I would really love to hear your feedback if you are affected by this U.S. trade war, U.S. and China trade war. I think it's going to affect everybody. You know, if anybody from the course factories in China, we have Forest Shipping today, Kornilia, of course, shipping companies, sellers, importers, brands, and even the end consumer in America. You know, my mom and dad buying off Amazon. I don't know, I think they mostly buy in Walmart. But for everybody buying products in America, I think you're going to be feeling it. I think Christmas is going to be a little bit more expensive for the gifts this year. I think no matter what. But if you want to give me your insights, definitely take us up on that offer. I will have it rolling for a couple of weeks, maybe until mid-June. And then I'll be digging into data with our team and making some kind of an industry report of the findings. So the more insights we get, the better. globalfromasia.com/trade war survey. We have trade shows too. Got a lot of different things going on in this world of the cross-border business. So I want to get into the show, and then I'll do the blah, blah, blah at the end. I'll also get some more insights of what's happening. And I'm doing this all before my kids come home from school. We are getting the studio rocking and rolling here. Let's tune in. Kornilia, the head of international business development from one of our partners and sponsors of our many things here at Global from Asia, Forest Shipping. We had the founder on the show as well, Forrest Zhang. Same name as the business, and the previous episode, we'll link it up on the show notes. Kornilia and I have a discussion about this whole trade war, and I think she's a great guest to have. She gives some insights. They deal with Chinese sellers as well as international sellers. They ship from their 80% of their market is Chinese goods to U.S. markets. So They must deal with a lot. I mean, over thousands of clients, lots of inquiries every day. So, of course, support our sponsor. Definitely check them out. But this show is very insightful, very helpful. We want to add value, educate. I got some insights too about differences of how the Chinese sellers in the U.S. market versus international sellers into the U.S. market are dealing with this differently, and how their businesses strategy is different, which is also fascinating. And then at the end we keep the value going. She gives some great tips at the end, and ways that you can calculate this. So I definitely think you'll enjoy this one. Episode 256 of Global from Asia. globalfromasia.com/episode 256 for the show notes, as well as the photo of our guests and transcription. We try to get transcription out as soon as the show is live. All of that and more at the blog. But let's tune into the interview. And then after, some blah, blah, blah. Thanks. Let's do it. Trade war or no trade war, there will be international payments, and GoRemit.hk, our loyal sponsor here at the Global from Asia podcast, is there to help you make payments from your Hong Kong bank to other parts in Asia, of course, into China for your manufacturing or your office or operating costs or freelancer costs, Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, like me, and other places. We really appreciate them sponsoring. It's free, of course, to create an account. You go through the KYC, know your customer process, and you only pay fees when you exchange your money when making a cross-border payment. And rates are very competitive, definitely better than PayPal and others. We would love you to look at them and check them out. www.goremit.hk. Tell them GFA sent you. Thank you. Okay, thank you everybody for tuning into another Global from Asia podcast. There's been a lot of recent events the last couple of weeks, and I'm excited to also finally get her on the show. We've known each other in the community for quite some time. Kornilia from Forest Shipping, and a great business connector and helpful to many sellers and business people in Shenzhen and South China. So thanks for coming on, Kornilia.
Hello, Mike, and everyone who's listening to us. I am Kornilia Lampropoulou. I know it's a big name, huh?
Yeah, I was saying I think it's best you say it. So it's great.
And I am the head of the international department of Forest Shipping International Company here in Shenzhen. So I've been living and working in China the past 5 years in the e-commerce and Amazon shipping and logistics field. And I feel really excited to join your podcast, Mike. I hope I can offer some, useful insights of the latest and hottest topic about the U.S.-China trade war.
Yeah.
But before we start the discussion, I would like to thank you for inviting me. Since I've met you until now, I still believe the same first thing. You are a real pro who really loves what he's doing. And this is something, which is really rare to see in our days.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we connected. This was great about doing these events like the Cross Border Summit, which our fourth annual is coming up, and I think it was the first or second. You've been very supportive to come, and we met through the event, and it's great. You're also very helpful too, and thank you and for shipping for being one of our preferred partners and supporting the show and the community here. So I also thank you back. So
thank you.
Sure. So like you said, and I mentioned, the trade war is this really hot topic, and I think we've both been talking to some different journalists in the media, and everybody's been asking. So I think it's still a hot topic even a couple weeks in, since this has been really picking up. But I think it's great to have you and your experience come, because you're in Shenzhen, you're dealing with all these sellers from China to the overseas for Amazon and different e-commerce platforms. So maybe first you could give us some insights about maybe what kind of clients what kind of people you would typically deal with, so that when we know you're dealing with sellers a lot, is the U.S. market primarily, or maybe some insights about what kind of companies.
I think the numbers speak from themselves. It's always about a number. So for the last quarter, our company's clients reached the number of 1,130, both Chinese and overseas. I need to mention here that the approximate number of the daily incoming inquiries that our overseas department receives are around 40 to 50 as a number, if that helps.
Okay.
So we are talking for the overseas clients from US, India, Europe, wherever, all around the world.
Okay.
Now, of course, I think the most interesting number is the percentage of those shipments which actually leave from China ahead to the US market. So, well, this number is huge, and it's close to 80% out of all our total. We have clients all over the world. We also have clients here in China. But I think the most important number and part is to say that the 80%, this 80% means that wherever you are all around the world, you're shipping from China to US, and that's a really big number.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. It's we'll get into some of, hopefully, everybody gets through this okay. We'll talk about some of the good and maybe the pros and the cons. But yeah, and like just another point for listeners to make sure that they understand. A lot of times, especially when we've both talked to some different reporters, and people think it's like U.S. sellers and Chinese sellers, but
Yeah.
there's sellers all around the world that maybe Australia. They're just because they live in Australia. There's a friend of mine, Chris Thomas, that has a podcast there, The Australian Seller. Definitely check it out. It's a good one about, but they don't just sell in Australia. They sell in the U.S. and they buy from China. So, I mean, anybody anywhere can buy from China and sell to the U.S. So I think a lot of times people ask, like, how's it going to affect U.S. sellers? It's not really. It's maybe people selling in the U.S., which could be a Chinese-based seller selling in the U.S. Amazon market or anywhere in the U.S., really. So yeah, I think that's a good point. So, but like you said, 80% of your clients are importing into the U.S. and selling in the U.S. market, which is
we have many clients also from India that they sell, into the U.S. market. So, it doesn't have to do where you're actually based, but it has to do more where you source your products from and where you send them, where you ship them. So
yeah. So this trade war, I can't remember when it first started. I feel like, at least in my mind, there's been a couple different milestones, but I think at least for this latest craze of talk about it was a tweet. At least I think it was a tweet or something in like around mid-May, where Donald Trump says, China's not seems to be willing to do what I think they said that they were going to do, and we're going to stand firm and make it 25%, increase from 10% to 25%, something like this. I don't know if that's maybe what you remember or how you've seen this unfold.
So
or maybe I'm wrong.
Actually, the story started at the beginning of 2018. The US tariff policy was introduced in 6 core stages throughout the year. But I think I shall not go deeper into this, as many back and forth talks had been going on during that time, and I'm afraid that I will create more confusion than clarity to our listeners.
Sure.
So over the course of 2018, the Trump's regulations levied import tariffs on nearly, just listen the number, $280 billion of US imports, with rates ranging between 10 and 50%. In response, China hit back with tariffs being around 16% on a number close to $120 billion of US exports, falling the US into its first event of large-scale tariff protection. So we haven't seen similar case of protectionism this size since the Great Depression, since the 1930s.
Wow.
And of course, questions raising, about the future of international trade. So now we go back to what you said, because you were right. most of the people, they thought that actually the whole thing started in the middle of May. But if we go back exactly 1 month ago, it was on 13th of April, we had the private discussion. There was a private discussion in Beijing between Chinese and US official representatives. So at that time, the whole scenario changed again. And it took back, our hopes that this endless trade nightmare would have finally reached to an agreement. And then after 5 days of this, boom, it was when you actually saw the Trump's Twitter announcement on the increase of the US tariffs. So what happened? Of course, there's a background, I guess.
Sure.
From the US side, China was accused that was going back on its former promises. And the US side said that they had basically reduced the 130 page agreement into 103 pages, leaving many arrangements out of it. So now from the China side, at least it was revealed by the press that US was constantly adding more and new demands during the negotiation at its latest. But there is no official reply from Beijing on this. Now you're asking me, I think we all wait to see what is going on, what is going to happen, how this conflict is going to end, and how this is going to change of what we know so far about the international trade scenery. And I have the sense we will soon hear about it this July, the coming July, which is taking place in Japan, the G20 summit. So that's the whole story.
Okay. Thanks for the background.
As short as possible.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I know. I mean, well, I think we got the background. I think the interesting part is, what you've been hearing. You're on the ground in Shenzhen, and you're working, with the international markets, and I'm sure, I've been to your office a few times, and I'm sure there's probably your team asking you, or your management team, how of course it's always tricky to expose client information, but maybe generally what was maybe some of the email or people freaking out? I mean, I know a lot of people I saw in different community groups was, I don't even know how much it's going to, my import duty is going to change. Like, I think everybody is really just scared of the unknown. I mean, what were kind of some of the things that were coming into the company?
You would expect that actually the company will get flooded with emails or messages, right? I wouldn't say that, to be honest. Not at all.
Okay.
I think internet, does the whole job.
Oh, okay.
The whole work for us. There are few, of course, we have we had few regular clients of us that they reached us, and they wanted to get to know more of what we have heard, explain them the situation and what we anticipate, mostly to be aware of how this is going to affect or whether it has impact on their, shipping costs, on their duties, and likely to get prepared. So far, everything runs smoothly, I have to say, with no big changes on the daily set. For some of forest shipping's customers, of course, and those are, the smaller Amazon sellers, the smaller size Amazon sellers, that they currently hesitate to ship. And the reason is that with some of them that I have already had a discussion with them, they wait for the trade war outcomes. And, I guess this makes, totally sense.
Actually, I wondered the dates. I swore I read something like if it's already on the sea, it wouldn't be affected, but things leaving the port, I don't know when things take effect. I guess obviously it depends and it's political. Do things happen so fast? I mean, usually politics and government's slow, right? Or does these things take effect, when do these things constantly change? I mean, I don't know. Wouldn't it take a long time or to take effect?
Probably yes, probably not. Unfortunately, I cannot reply to this, to these questions, and be certain that when or
Yeah, it's
whether.
true. It's
So
true.
I cannot say yes. It's going to be. I think that they do not even know when they will actually start, affecting this. So I
Mm,
cannot be also
yeah,
sure.
I think that's what everybody's. And then I guess some people don't even know how to even understand. I know people saying, "Is there a list? How do I know my?" There's I think it's HTS, HTC, harmonized tariff codes. Yeah, I think people want to know like how much is
Yes,
my product gonna go up.
that's my first and the most important advice. It's like everyone gets panic, like, oh my God, I'm going to pay crazy duties and so on. But the first thing that, all Amazon sellers or all those, they ship from China to US, the first thing that they have to do is to check their HTS code. So this code is a 6-digit code. To explain you better was that it's like it's the ID of your product. In China, we have different ID. When we ship to US, we have different ID. When we ship to France, we have different ID, and so on. So let's say this is the ID of your product. So when you're going to import into the US, at the customs clearance, they're going to check the ID of your product. So this is going to give you the whole idea about your duties, how much you're going to pay. So for this one, it would be good either to check with your supplier. For example, you talk with your supplier and they're going to guide you. So if the suppliers cannot, then you will probably need to go to the official side of the US customs, that they give you a better, overview of which should be the best TS code, HS code. They use both of these words to give the best ID and know exactly how much you're going to pay for duties. I don't know if that makes sense, but you need first to check your HS code, your US HS code, to all our listeners and to all those that they want to ship from China to US.
Agreed. Yeah, we'll link it up on the show notes. Some of these resources, but yeah, basically, because it depends on the. It's not. There's been talk about 10%, 25%, but I think it also depends on like we can call HS, HTS, the tariff code. So it's unfortunately it kind of depends on the product category. It's not
Yeah,
like I think
exactly.
there's might be some people, some are more affected than others, and so yeah, definitely I
At
think
least for
anybody
now.
listening.
At least for now, it's like there are 3 stages that they say that they are going to follow regarding the ACES code. Those 3 rounds, let's say, in a series of tariff announcements have been already announced, but we need to continue to check the status of our HTS code, to stay updated on each round of announcements.
Yep, I'd I'd agree, and yeah, I think that's part of the job of a seller, and yeah, like talk to the factory or maybe talk to their logistics company or look up online their
Or even you can ask your freight forwarder. For example, us, we always going, to talk with our U.S. customs agents and ask them for this product. What do you think should be more suitable? What we could, suggest as another option. But again, it's not on us. It has to do with the U.S. customs. If they decide that they want to name your product, give another idea on your product, there's
mm-hmm,
nothing that you can actually do.
exactly. Yeah,
You know.
there's others. Oh, go ahead. I mean, there's others. I didn't put it in the interview, but some people are like, "Oh, can I just send it to Hong Kong first and then send it to
Yeah,
US and say
yeah.
it's made in Hong?" I'm sure you guys got that question, or I guess just to make sure people understand that that doesn't work. Unless you want, I don't think forest shipping would do it, but maybe some really small companies would lie. It's basically lying on paperwork of where the origin of the product is. So yeah, I don't think any logistics provider, freight forwarder, customs agent would want to facilitate a seller to basically forge documents on the origin of the of the goods, because that's basically, from where to where, you know but yeah, I'm sure people have probably asked you guys that, and people have been asking over here that too. I'm also curious. I don't know, maybe if you have the answer or not, but you think you guys are one of the more unique companies that deals with both the Chinese seller or community and the Western or international seller community. Is there any differences you would say from the response or the questions or any other insights?
You mean about how they actually sell?
I guess, well, you said there wasn't many questions, but I guess I'm just wondering if you think a Chinese-based seller to the U.S. versus like an international seller to the U.S. is responding differently or taking this differently. They're both treated equally because they're both, like you said, selling in the U.S., importing to the U.S. Their taxes on this customs would be the same. But I just wonder, just in general, if there's any insights. Maybe are they planning something different? I think, like for example, just give maybe some more insights. Some people think that a international seller might be a little bit more at advantage, maybe because their English might be better and they could talk to a factory outside of China more easily than a Chinese seller that might have to find a factory outside of China for certain sources. Does that make sense? Or, I think the Chinese sellers don't ever plan to buy and sell non-Chinese manufactured goods, whereas an international foreign seller might be more open to sourcing outside of China. I think that's kind of what I'm thinking.
I will tell you, first of all, almost all raw materials are still made in China and they come from China. So actually, if you even go and search outside of China to source your products, for example, again, those countries, those factories, they need to use raw materials that they come from China. So that means that Chinese sellers, I believe that they're going to hesitate to, change their local suppliers, but also the international sellers. I will tell you one thing, which for me, it makes difference on the whole story. So we work both with Chinese and international sellers. And there are differences, but I think that they are all derived from the same main factor, the word competition. I will come to your question. So Chinese sellers are more competitive than Westerns. And this is something that many of us who live as expats in China can distinguish and understand of what I mean by that. So,
definitely.
So Chinese sellers are born and raised to face the competition as a daily challenge, and that everything and everyone is consumable. In simple words, Chinese sellers are not afraid of the competition, and they deal well with the risk when they have to take it. So, for instance, if we have a foreign arrival who moves on price war, Chinese sellers, the response will probably be like, great, I love to play that game. Due to the same key factor, Chinese sellers are kind of obsessed with the competition research. So they will spend time and money to learn as much as possible, about their rivals, in order to either penetrate into the same market with an existing product, but by offering better pricing and more or other added features. So Chinese sellers study a lot, the market, the competition, and how they make this research this is where the big difference is noticeable. Whereas Western sellers, even though they know that they have to deal with the competition, they focus more on establishing their own brand, and they sell their products by building trust with their
Yeah.
consumers. But from the Chinese side, sellers prefer to play otherwise. So they spend more time and money on finding the product with the least competition of each category. So I'm saying all this because I'm trying to explain that Chinese are very competitive and they do not feel reluctant, to the risk or the changes that they will come, even though they live in a very, stable place. It's a very stable market, in China. Government protects, many things. I will not
Yeah.
emphasize more on that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
what I want to say is that Chinese sellers, because of all this, they seem to be more optimistic and more confident that everything will end up, into a win-win situation. Whereas overseas, they seem to be very anxious because those that they keep conducting us, they're mostly, overseas and not Chinese.
Interesting.
That was the story behind the competition, because I think this has to do with the mentality and, and the culture.
I like it. I mean, this is really amazing insight. It's true. I mean, I definitely agree about Chinese are not afraid of competition and they almost welcome it. And maybe it's true. I mean, we're Western sellers. I mean, it's true. We're more into branding and more. Yeah, it's true. I think also just generally sensitive. I mean, I'm definitely a sensitive person. I mean, I'm not saying all Westerners are, but
No, yeah,
I think it's also a true kind of statement where Chinese are very like, I'm just going to do it no matter what, and this is not going to phase me. I'm just going to keep pushing forward, just going on my normal plan. Where like a Western seller might be like more stressed out because of these news and focuses on this in this news. But it's interesting insights to hear. Um, and so have you? Of course, there'd be some juicy news. Like I'll give you some more insights. I've talked to a lot of people about this. So like one example is I just put it credit. I mean, he also says show Frederick from China Import Hall. He was talking to me in WeChat, and he said it's not so easy for people to move out of China, like you had said, Cornelia. And he says, if they were to try to move, especially if it's some very unique product with molds and their infrastructure, if the prices gets too high where the market won't bear the increased price, they'll just have to go out of business, I mean, or
yeah.
change their product, like they can't just go to Vietnam or they can't just go to like another country and just make it, like it was a little bit scary. So I don't know if anybody is thrown in a towel or say they're going to sell or cancel their business or maybe some Western sellers you say are more emotional. Maybe they're just getting frustrated with all already it is true. I mean, Amazon's not as easy and it never was easy, but it's definitely not as easy as it used to be. And it's continuing to get more difficult. So I don't know if anybody's thrown in the towel or if you have any interesting stories about how maybe people are reacting to this or, I know earlier I asked you too, and you said there's not much news, but I don't know if there's
So
any
I think
kind of
I will tell
stories.
you, I know what you mean. So I think Amazon sellers are used somehow to the, ever-changing Amazon landscape. So
Yeah.
I think that Amazon sellers, they have the ability to adapt because, it's everything that Amazon throws on their way during, during their business with Amazon. Those I believe that they're serious Amazon sellers. But I mean with serious is like they really believe in their product. They have really invested time and money for what they believe is good, and also that they have their their loyal, I would say, consumers that they keep buying their products, or they see that still at the market this product is important to be existed or even makes a difference. would just say, that I think Amazon sellers right now, they're just trying like all the rest, they're just trying to realize how this is going to affect them. So no drama so far. Hopefully we will not have drama because, this thing happens, this kind of thing happen, but we need to be realistic. This dispute over duties might take a year or two or more to resolve, and
True.
and this might be our new reality, at least for now. That's why I'm saying we need to realize that this is going to affect every pillar of, the retail industry. And you could say that this will somehow modify the supply chain world as we know it until now. So it is a storm and it will
Yeah.
slowly pass. Just need to find our new standards and adjust to them in order to move on.
Yeah, I've been thinking as you're answering, and we had a mini series here at Global from Asia, e-commerce gladiator, and I like, I picked a name, and I think sellers are like the gladiators in the arena of the modern day, world. I mean, like you said, right? They're like stuck. I mean, almost, in it too. I mean, we're kind of like somewhat stuck in the middle of the U.S. and China war, and then we're stuck in Jeff Bezos's world of the fees, and then the storage. There's long-term storage fees, and then there's increased fees, and there's like ads, and there's competitor. Yeah, I mean, you're in this arena, and you're just battling all these huge giants that you don't have too much control of, and you as a seller have to kind of navigate and survive and thrive. And of course, many are doing really well. I think it's true. Like, maybe practice meditation, or maybe it's also something about China or Asia is the Zen, calm your mind and just focus on executing rather than worrying about everything around you.
Exactly.
Cool. Yeah. So I guess for shipping too, is there any internal discussions in management, or are you guys, worried, or is this something that or may have you seen any effects as has inquiries dropped, as people has I mean, it was really early still, but I mean, I guess just kind of how are you as a business reacting to this or
As
dealing
a
with it?
company, so far we have no particular plans, to be honest. Plan B. Not many things have changed so far for us, and I don't know if they're going to change. And I will explain you the reason, because we have built over the years a very strong and reliable network of partners and agents worldwide, which has enabled us to offer our shipping and logistics services to our clients as they experience them until now. So it's not like we are based and we ship only from China to the US, but we can ship all over Asia, and this is what we also do. But of course, the sellers are not that many. Those that they source from other countries outside China, there are not that many, but still we offer this service. So
Okay.
since we offer international shipping, it's okay for us, of course, if this keeps going on, we need to see how this is going to affect. And I believe that we will be able to see that within the next quarter to get, a whole overview of whether our sales have dropped or what is going on with the volume. If we have also any decrease on the shipment volumes. Yes, sure about that. But I think it is more like the smaller size companies that their business based on the exclusive model, FBA shipping from China to US, maybe those they will have to face some serious difficulties to adjust.
Got it. Okay, that's good to know. Actually, I didn't know that you so you can do shipping from like Southeast Asia to US. It's not just from China. So that's good for me to even know for my own use, because we use your services too. Because I'm even
Remind
talking
me
to
more.
factories
I'm
in
going to make you
Thailand.
a cold call and explain you everything.
Yeah, I need to get on the sales call. But so that's good. So then listeners can also get the help from you for if they do get lucky and find, maybe not lucky, but diversify to have. Sometimes you can find the same product. I also have products that I can find if they're somewhat commodity in Southeast Asia as well as in China. So sometimes maybe it never hurts. Just like we always advise people here on the show to not just be purely dependent on Amazon, try to get on like shopping carts or Shopify or Etsy or even eBay or other channels. Just like that, you should also try to have multi-supplier. Even inside China, you should try to have multiple factories inside China. But if you can also have factories, outside. But it definitely adds to the complexity. Definitely adds to the complexity.
No, it depends. It depends. If you're a private label seller, it's like, if you're a private label seller, it's like, you spend so much time to manage to negotiate with your Chinese
Hmm.
supplier. You start building the product as exactly you wanted, and now you're thinking probably I should find another supplier. Maybe those that they are not, private label sellers, maybe for them it would be easier if they want to, go global or search for other countries that they could source their products. But for those that they are private labels, I think I don't know how flexible this will be for them to move out of China.
True. Yeah, it'd definitely be hard. So, we'll see how this all develops. And I guess we're getting towards the end. It's been a fascinating conversation, Cornelia. Thanks for the insights. I picked up some insights too. And let's just make sure listeners know about forest shipping. Of course, you help with FBA shipments from China to the US, but also, as I learned today, Southeast Asia or other parts of Asia to international markets. Do you want to maybe share a little bit more about what you can offer?
Thank
You also
you.
have, like you
Yeah,
said.
thanks. Thanks for giving me the chance to speak a little bit about forest shipping. So actually, forest shipping international company has a history on e-commerce and specifically FBA Amazon shipping industry more than 9 years now. So many people ask how this name came up, forest.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I would
I
like
think we know, but the listeners
to
don't. Yeah.
So I would like to reply to this question. So needless to say that Forest is the founder's actual name, who is a real nature adorer. So the company, despite its constant growth, always tries to offer not only cost and time efficient shipping, solutions, but also sustainable to our environment. That's why I really wanted to mention that, because people ask me why Forest. So with warehouses in every corner in the greater China, and now in Los Angeles, being the first co-loader and being awarded in China for the FBA Amazon consolidations that we do, and not only has enabled forest shipping to become, and I feel very proud about that, but to become
Yeah, it's big.
uh,
It's really
an
great.
official approved member of the service provider network Amazon Family Program. So after a long time, we managed to meet all these program requirements that Amazon was asking from us. And right now, all our Amazon sellers, they are also able to find us through the Amazon platform. So our services cover all FBA, Amazon, and e-commerce needs worldwide. We offer international shipping, international returns, which is another big topic, international returns, warehousing, FBA preparation, FBA photography services, inspection. If you want liquidation, like stock liquidation in the US and more. So I think for all of us that, they want to learn more about the company, they can just visit our website, www.forest.com to get more information about us.
Sure. And of course, as always, we try our best to link all these resources and, of course, your site on the show notes for today's episode. And it's been great, Kornilia. Is there any? I think we covered quite a bit. Is there any parting words? Or I think we did quite a bit.
I think I would like to give a few advices before
Oh wow, great!
to our,
Definitely.
I would say Amazon sellers. The first thing is do not panic. The second thing is just check your ATIS code and keep updating that, keep searching if something has changed. You can talk with your freight forward about it. You can talk with your supplier. You can search on, an official website of the US Customs. The third thing is, if you really want to stay and source from China, you need to renegotiate with your suppliers. So if you are satisfied with your supplier, this is the first thing that you should do. You should, if you have built already trusting relationship with your supplier, I think you will be able to meet halfway. And because of what is going on, you should not, sacrifice your product quality or the services, but just try to maintain your margins somehow. And, recalculate your budget like you did the first time that you started, decided that you want to start your own Amazon business. And probably you can scale back operational costs. You need to be prepared. The next thing is probably you need to be prepared that you're going to pay extra taxes because of this whole story. But also, if you want, because there are also these options, doesn't have to do whether I'm based in China, but you can take a look outside of China, like Vietnam or India. I would even say Mexico if you want, like a quick solution. But the main thing is that if you really want to keep the quality that you have, those other markets like, India or Vietnam, good or bad, and unfortunately, they have not developed the technology that China has, okay? And China has experienced a long time with the international trade, okay? So before you decided, to sacrifice your product, you need to be prepared that if you go to change and go to another market, probably you're going to face the same first problems that you had with China long time ago.
Sure.
So that's that. I think this is the most important thing. But even if you choose to have a product, US made, this doesn't necessarily mean that the raw materials they come from US. Again, they come from China. A vast majority of raw materials come from China. So somehow this is going to affect again your prices. And of course, do not focus only on the US, right? I think, Mike, we also need to mention that there are like potential
That is true. That
markets,
is a good point.
like
Yeah, you're right.
Amazon Australia right now. It's almost 1 year. It's less than 1 year actually, and there is plenty room for new sellers, or Amazon India, which is really fast growing. Again, we need to think also other options. It's not the end of the world. We are flexible, I think, all of us, and especially the Amazon sellers.
True.
So that's my advice. Really
Yeah, I
short
like it.
words.
I guess it's true. I was focusing on the supplier side, but you can also change the market side or diversify. I mean, I think the best business, is a diversified business, right? Whether you're going to own the company for the long term or whether you're going to even sell it. I mean, showing that you have multiple options for as many different channels, and markets. I think, of course, it's gonna be more complex. Of course, you got to be ready to manage multiple markets and inventories, but that's definitely going to make it more long-term valuable and stronger for your growing businesses. So, thanks again, Cornelia. Those are great. I'm glad we got to add in that and to really add even more value to this great episode.
Thank you,
And
Mike. Thank you. Thank you for inviting
yeah,
me, and to thanks all all the listeners. I hope I offer some insights to them, and just choose the best for them and for their business. I just wish them good luck, and calm down and stay Amazon seller.
yeah, just stay in the game. I think there's always going to be speed bumps, and everybody's dealing with this. I mean, nobody's able to get, it's going to be the same for everybody. So, it just we'll all have to just adapt to it. The most important part is staying in the game.
Exactly.
I'll be honest, cross-border summit in Guangzhou, China has got me a little bit nervous. This US trade war stuff, who knows what's going to happen, but I think people will be there for the trade show season. I would love to meet you. Unless the political climate gets so bad that Americans are banned from China, I will be there. And we will have some amazing speakers. I've been on the phone with amazing speakers in our industry for quite some time already. I was literally just in Guangzhou confirming the venue. We've been working on this already for months, and it's a bit of a ways away. Early bird tickets are not yet open to the general public. It's only for VIP members right now. Check out the website. Support the show, www.crossbordersummit.com. Thank you so much for your consideration. Thank you so much, Kornilia, for sharing. She's an amazing woman that's in Shenzhen, 5 years working with e-commerce, logistics, sellers. So it's amazing insights. We will actually also be having her on a live webinar, probably in July. It's the best way to get updated about more amazing stuff here at Global from Asia. We of course try to announce things here on the podcast, but email is I'm a little bit less shy to promote stuff in our email. So if you're subscribed to our email list, you'll get some various insights, usually once a week or so. If it's your first time on the email list, you'll probably go through a mini email e-course. Check it out. Usually just hop on the homepage, globalfromasia.com, and you can grab that email subscription and get up to date for these webinars and other amazing things we try to do here at best we can at Global from Asia. Now for my blah blah blah. Well, I mean, I actually learned some things, thanks Kornilia. So some of the things I'm thinking is, I think that's definitely true. I mean, Chinese sellers to the U.S. market, I have to be so clear. Foreign sellers, international sellers to the U.S. market, the difference is maybe it's the Art of War book, or maybe it's the culture, the mindset, the meditation. I've been meditating for 5 years now, at least 4. 2014, I think I started. So getting on close to 5 years, I think it was. But meditation and this whole Asia way of thinking, mindset, clarity, calmness, management, holistic thinking. I think you can think about that. I know a lot of times I've talked to sellers overseas in the US, when there's a new Chinese seller coming into their niche, their market, they're pretty ruthless. And I hate to say, I don't want to make it seem like us versus them, foreign versus not, Chinese or blah, blah. It's Chinese sellers are competitive. And that's why some of my friends that are Chinese, are sellers on FBA, are afraid of the Chinese Taobao seller getting onto eBay. They're like, don't teach domestic Chinese sellers about Amazon. They're going to compete with me, because it's not like they're trying to attack or kill, or beat or destroy foreign sellers. They are trying to beat everybody. And, the Chinese business mentality is winner takes all, whatever it takes to, it's just business, strictly business. It's not personal. I just am here to make as much money and get as big as possible and grow my sales as much as possible. I will do almost whatever it takes to win. And, you might have your opinion about that. I might have my opinion about that. But it's not like Chinese sellers attacking Western sellers. It's really, they're attacking themselves. So I know that we have some Chinese sellers that listen to this show, and I think that they would be agreeing with me. So it's just a mindset, and they're not freaking out about this trade war. They're just going about their business as normal, and they know that whatever the industry changes, they're going to just be very methodical, strategic, data-oriented, spreadsheet-looking, conversion optimization looking people. Where it's true, like especially me, I'm not a data-driven person. I'm emotional driven, and I know that's probably not proud of me to say, but and I've been improving on that. I'm not as emotional driven, but I think that that's maybe a Western seller's mindset more than an Asian or Chinese seller's mindset. We are more emotional creatures. I my wife even told me, like, the monkey mind, the Westerners, a lot of times Chinese say that they have 3,000 years of history, and that the Westerners are, I don't know if you know, but Wai Guo Ren is the Chinese Mandarin meaning of foreigners. It means outside. Wai is outside country people. Outside country people. The idea is everybody in the world came from China, so we are the less developed people in the world because we're not as developed as Chinese. I hope I'm not offending anybody. I'm probably offending my own quote unquote people as foreigners, but that the Chinese feel like they have more because of this more cultural experience and mindset. White people or foreign people are more like monkeys, less developed. Chinese are more calm-minded, more zen. I hope I'm not offending people, but hey man, this is a show. This is what's cool about podcasts. I don't have to get some politically approved, PC approval. I'm just putting it out there like it is, and I think if you're listening still at this blah blah blah, you can keep listening. But that's just the way it is, and I mean, I've been trying to be more Zen. I'm maybe more Asian. Maybe I've been in China and Asia and Thailand too long. My wife's deep into Buddhism now, and she did help me meditate a bit when I first met her. To be very honest with you, I was much more emotional then. But I think that's what makes maybe Westerners or foreigners more creative, more unique. We're not trying to be calm-minded. We're not trying to be standardized and data-driven and processed. We're more artistic. I think generally, of course, I'm talking very broadly here. Obviously, there's artistic Chinese people and there's mathematical foreigners or non-Chinese people. But I'm just getting back to this whole trade war. I think it's true. Chinese sellers are not as afraid. They're not going to be like changing their business, giving up, changing their whole strategy, finding new suppliers just because of this 1 month of debate between U.S. and China political parties. So I think that should be something you should learn from. You should also just focus on your data. Know your HS code or your HTS code, harmonized tariff system, and just keep on focusing on that. And focus on your data, but focus on the business. We can't control this U.S. trade war with China, especially Donald Trump. I mean, we can have our different opinions about him. He's probably not the most, smooth person, but he is shaking things up, that's for sure. And we never know what the next tweet will be from his Twitter account. And we can't worry about that. And everybody's dealing with the same cards. You can't cheat the system. You can't forge documents and say it's made in Hong Kong or made somewhere else if it's made in China. We've talked about this on previous episode. You could maybe ship it to Mexico and do a certain amount of manufacturing on it, maybe to get onto enough to be made in Mexico. Maybe this is a little bit tricky and pretty advanced and probably expensive, and probably only if you're a big enough seller or a big enough product business to even consider doing something like that. So you just got to focus on it. And the last one I learned actually today with Kornilia, or thought of, realized is true. Why are we focusing just on the U.S. market? Especially here at Global from Asia. As the words show, you can run a global business here. If you have a business maybe in Hong Kong, Singapore, or other parts of Asia, and you're living somewhere, anywhere in the world really, you can buy your goods from China and send it to somewhere that doesn't have huge tariff code processing fees and all that stuff. So maybe you should look to diversify to other markets besides the U.S. Obviously, it's the biggest, I believe, still. And it's, of course, especially for me, I'm an American. I know my market well. But we should consider other markets and diversification. We've said that on the show. I mean, Amazon is a channel. It's not a business. You're an Amazon seller doesn't mean you're only an Amazon seller. You should be looking to multi-channel. You should be building a brand. You should be building long-term value. You shouldn't be nervous if your account gets shut down. You shouldn't be nervous if this market's prices go up. If you are building a long-term brand that people like and listening to your market, listening to your customer, being better than your competitor's quality product. I got slammed with some 1-star reviews on the Mocha Pot the last couple weeks. It's been painful, and maybe it's a competitor, or maybe it's really a customer. There've been similar trends, but you just improve your product. You improve your listing. You make the photo even more clear of what exactly features it has. How many cups of coffee does it exactly make? What size cup is it? Is it an espresso cup, or is it a jug of coffee? How many cups does it make? Update your photos, update your text, make your listing as quality as possible, your product as quality as possible. And that is really the goal of a product-based business, whether it's a product or a service. I mean, your like you said, CEO is customer, employee, owner. Customers, I think there's back and forth about customers first or employees first. You need a good team to deliver a good product or service to your customer, but and then owners maybe raising money, but your job is to keep your customers happy, your team happy, and your owners happy, which is making more sales and more money. So yeah, I mean, we can't control these. I think in life, especially if you want to be really stressed in life, you try to think about things and stress about things you cannot control. I don't think you can talk to the Chinese or U.S. president and change his or their mind. So you just gotta realize everybody else is dealing with those same stressful things. And like Kornilia says, the Chinese sellers are just doing business as usual, and they'll adapt. But I do think Western or international sellers might have an advantage if it really does get horrible. I think an international seller will have an easier time finding a Vietnam factory or finding another factory outside of China, whereas I think it might be a little bit harder for a Chinese seller to be able to source outside. Of course, anybody can source anywhere, and you can just send a buyer request. But it won't. I don't think is as straightforward. They're just so used to buying from Chinese suppliers and talking in Chinese, so it'll be a totally different world. But that world is probably years and years or decades away. We will see, and we will keep it up here. Again, make sure I'm plugging that survey. I'd love to have your input on our Global from Asia Trade War survey. globalfromasia.com/trade war survey, all one word. And fill it out if you'd like. No requirement to leave your name or email, but if you do leave your email, we will send you that result as some kind of a pretty PDF, and maybe make more of these white papers or research or surveys. I mean, I think that's something, as our traffic and community has grown, we can tap into this community. And I've been talking to people at different media outlets, and they want to hear this stuff, and by you letting us know, we can know more what you're concerned about. Maybe you could even turn into more podcast shows and events like Cross Border Summits. So thank you so much. Have a great day. Thanks for listening. That's it.
To get more info about running an international business, please visit our website at www.globalfromasia.com. That's www.globalfromasia.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our iTunes feed. Thanks for tuning in.